Welcome to the course on Microsoft Word, where we'll start with just the basics of even how to operate Microsoft Word. So I'll just go to my start menu and I'll open my Microsoft Word, and this is what it will then tell me where to my left I've got recent documents. If you just open it for the first time, you might not have recent documents. To my right, I've got documents that are templates. So if I double click on the document, I'll be able to start. So since I had some stuff previously, I've also got document recovery here, which does not always show up when you first start up. But we'll just go through some of the basics that we might need to learn or know about our Microsoft Word. So the first thing is where my mouse is, that is my document title, where by default it's document 1. And then we've got our menu, which starts with our file all the way to our view. We've got our icons that give us different elements that we need to work with. We've got our page, which is where we type, and what we use to type is known as our cursor, which is that one there. We've got our page number, we've got our words, we've got our English, we've got our different views, and we can also work with 100%, which is our zoom basically, where we change the size of the page. So that becomes our document. So to begin with, we might need to save our document. So to save our document, the moment we click on save the first time, it gives us save as, and then it asks us for a location. Okay, so our location is basically where we will store our information or store our content, which can be in a specific location or a specific location is the best word. There's no other thing that we can use outside of that. So for example, the document is usually the best place to put it. And in the documents, I would like to actually put a folder. So I click on new folder, and then I put word lessons, so that if I keep adding more content, I will save it there. And then this will be basics. That's the title or the file name. So now we are in our documents and in our word lessons. And then the file name, we call it word basics. And then the save as type, we also need to put it as Word document. And then by default, the username is the author of the document. So we can also change that if we don't want it to be that. So for example, in this particular case, we can call the author Peter. And then if there are any tags that we need to add, maybe we can learn about tags in a later lesson. But so far as it stands, This is what we've got for our document. We click on save, and then the moment we click on save, you actually notice that basics changes to something different, which is now basics, and it's a Word um, file. Okay, so that's it for saving. Let's say we would want to open this document. Okay, so let's maybe close the file. We then reopen Microsoft Word, right? This particular instance now, we don't want to create a new file like we did there. We want to just open basics, and then we double click on basics, and then we can now be able to see what basics contains. Okay, that's how we access our document, so to speak. So outside of that, we might need to learn a bit about each section. So the first section, which is the file section, gives us the following information. So the first tab of our file is the information. So we have the name of the file plus its location. We can protect our document. We can inspect our document for issues. We can manage our document. We then have properties, which gives us the size of the document, the number of pages, editing time, if it's got a title, if it's got a tag, if it's got comments, the time that it was last modified, the time it was created, the author, modified by, that's all for our info. We've got our new, where we can be able to see what we saw when we started the first document before we actually added anything. We've got our open, where we can open various documents. We've got more than one document, we can be able to open it. And we've got any other documents that are contained on the computer. We've got our save, which basically takes us back to our page. We've got our save as, does pretty much the same thing, but will then offer us a location. Okay, so if we click on save as, then tells us, do we want to save in the current folder? Do we want to save to a specific location? We've got our print, which will then take us to a print menu, where if we had a printer, we'll be able to get this printed, or we can actually print it to a PDF file. So I think for the section on the printing, I will have us print to PDF instead of to a file. The next would be share. So if you want to share this with other people, to email, to present online, to post to a blog, this is the part that we work with. We then have export. Export also takes us to either a PDF document or an XPS document, or we can actually change the file type. So that we can also work with. Close then closes this a Word document, but we don't want to see that now. I'll just tell you what it does. We then have account, where if you are logged in with a Microsoft account, you can now be able to access certain things based on what you'll be working with. We then have options, which takes us to this page where we've got various options that we can work with. So the first one will be general, the next one will be display, the next one will be proofing, the next one will be save, all the way until trust center. So that's our file. The next one now is this particular one, which is our home, which contains a clipboard, a font, a paragraph, styles, and editing. We then move to the next one, which is insert. Insert gives us our pages, tables, illustrations, add-ins, media, links, comments, header and footer, texts, and symbols. The next one is our design. Our design contains our document formatting and page background. The next one gives us our layout. We've got our page setup, our paragraph, and our range. The next one is our references, which gives us our table of contents, footnotes, citations and bibliography, captions, index, and table of authorities. The next one is our mailings, which gives us our create, start a mail merge, write and insert fields, review results, and then finish. This is a whole section on its own where we'll actually learn how to work with our mailings. The next one is a review, which usually comes after everything has been done. So you typed out your document, you've submitted whatever it is that you've submitted in your document, and now you want to check how that has been going. So first of all, we start with our proofing, which checks for our spellings, the number of words that we've got, etc. We've also got the language, whether we've got some sort of language that we've been going through and things that we want to change or work with. We also have comments where each of the comments will be done on whatever the content of our document was or the contents of the documents may be. We've got our tracking where we track everything that we've done. We then have our changes, compare, and protected. So changes pretty much means each and every change that you do in the document will then be stored here, and you can be able to take note of all the changes that might have taken place within the document. Then compare might have two separate documents that you want to work with and you want to see how they are similar or dissimilar. Okay, then the next thing is we want our view, which is our views, our show, our zoom, our window, macros, and SharePoint. So view pretty much gives us the different layouts, which is similar to the view that we've got here, only it's now just out up there, but does exactly the same thing. We've got our show, which gives us a ruler. Like for example, if I select, I'll be able to see this ruler. If I select grid lines, I'll be able to see the grid lines. Navigation panel, I'll be able to see that. So I don't need these two. I might just leave the ruler on for now. I've got my zoom, which changes the view of the document. I've got my window, I've got my macros and my SharePoint. Okay, so pretty much these are the various options that we can work with. Okay, so let's actually just get into some work so that we get to see how this works. So maybe for now, I might just be able to show you a bit of typing, and then I will pause the video so that I type out physically some of the things that I would want us to work with. But for example, we want to put an article. Okay. And our article is pretty much not going to be related to anything. It's purely fictional. And we would want to come up with a title, come up with some sort of story that deals with our article. Okay, so since it's going to be an article, I'm just going to tell you exactly what we need. We need to have a title and maybe a story that follows. We have a subtitle and another story that follows. So it would be as follows. Okay. We can take it back to some of the incidences that we used to learn in English whilst we were still in primary school. We would have a title like this: "The Day I Will Never Forget." Okay, that can be the first title. So I remember something like that, dot, dot, dot. And then our subtitle can be folk tales be tortoise and the hare. And then once upon a time, like that. Okay. Then we put our dot 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 so that we continue with whatever it is that we want to continue with, and we are good to go. So these can be examples of what this does. So since, like I said, we want to be able to work with text, we'll still need to be able to type this. We'll still need to be able to work with something that is tangible and that we can pretty much do as we proceed. So most of these things will be working with them as we will be working with text. So in the meantime, I can just show you a bit of stuff to do with our text, but we'll start with this particular instance, whereby, for example, the first one, since we said um, it's a title, so we need to come to here where it says styles. We select title so that we make it a title. We also select this text. We put it as a subtitle. Okay. One thing I forgot to tell you was how we select. You can put your cursor at the end of the line. You press Shift and the arrow key. Go either to the left or to the right. So if I put my cursor there, I select my Shift and my arrow key, I go to the left. I select everything that's on the left. I come to my styles, I select title, and then it changes the text to look like that. If I do the same here, I can also start from the left, going to the right. I select my style, and then I go to subtitle. Okay. However, at the same time, I can also be able to edit some of these things. So I can right click on normal, I go to modify. Under modify, I change the size to 12. I change the text to Arial. I can just keep it at that for now. I click on OK, and then you then notice that my text changes. So that's why I said at this particular point, we're still working with text. So I'm going to pause the video for now, add some text. I'll come back after I've got a bunch of text. You can also do the same thing so that when we continue from the new text. Okay, welcome back. So in the last section, I was just telling you about adding text, and we would want to add text so that our Word document sort of takes some shape. And when it takes some shape, we can be able to modify our text or work with our text. So some of the things that are there are as follows. In the last lesson, we just had the titles. So I added some text for both paragraphs, and would want to just do a few things to our text so that it does look different and it follows certain attributes that we would want to work with. So the first attribute that we can work with would be as follows. First of all, we want to learn the basics of the clipboard. And the clipboard is this section here. And in our clipboard, we would want to be able to know what our cut is, our copy is, our paste is, and our format painter. So what it means for us to do some of these things is as follows. We need to select our text. Remember, we said to select our text, we put our cursor at a position and we press shift and then go to a specific location that we want to work with. So for example, I select that portion, I click on copy, I come to that portion, I click paste, like that. So I have copied and pasted my text. However, if I don't want this text, I can still just highlight it, press delete, and then I remove my text. I also do the same with this entire line. I click on copy, I can paste it here, and then my text is stored there. In the same interest, I can then select Spider-Man, I click on cut, I then come here, and then I click on paste. So I can actually copy, cut, and paste my text based on what I might need to. Okay, so there's the next bit, which is our format painter, right? Our format painter simply does the following. Let me put my cursor there on the S of the Spider-Man. I press enter, and then I want to show you how format painter works. So for my format painter, I need to work with two blocks of text. This can be one section of my text. This can also be one section of my text. Maybe not a block per se, but let's say a word or a phrase or a sentence, you name it. So I highlight forget. I go to my format painter. I come to Spider-Man. I select all of it. And then the moment I select and leave my mouse, I have then painted my format. Okay, to do that in a different formatting, I'll take the second title, which is for tortoise. So I'll select tortoise. I go to format painter. I then select Spider-Man, and then I have painted my text to a specific format, which is that of Spider-Man, or that of what I would have done. So we've got Spider-Man, which is painted in a specific format, and we can then work with it in that particular regard. Okay, so after working with the Spider-Man, that's our format painter. We can always come back to it at a later stage. But for now, we then want to see how we can play around with our text. So, for example, in our texts, we can have certain things that we might want to modify. So, for example, I remember it as if it was yesterday. We want to change yesterday and make it a different font. We've got the font properties here. So we can make yesterday bold. We can also take remember. We highlight remember. We can make italic. We can also take years old and make that underlined. We can take been waiting and we put a line through. We can take trip and we put X so that we make it a subscript. We can also work with month and then we use X squared. Okay, so that makes it a postscript. So we're then saying this is our example of italics, which is this one. This is our example of bold, which is B. This is our example of underlined, which is U. This is an example of strike through, which is ABC with a line through it. Then we've got our subscript, which is this one, our postscript, which is that one. So if I select the text, you actually see which one is highlighted, which is subscript. If I select that, which is our postscript, which puts it at that. So those are some of the things that we can work with in our font. However, it's not the only thing because we've just looked at one, which is our bold, our two, which is our italic, three, which is our underline, four, which is our strike through, five, which is our subscript, six, which is our superscript. Okay. Outside of that, we can also change the text itself. So, for example, I can say below I want to change the size. I come here where it says 12. I select 16, and then below becomes bigger. I can also change the text name. So I can select this text. I come here to where it says Arial. I can then put that kind of text so that I've actually changed the name of the text. So this changes the name of the text, which is that point. This changes the size of the text, which is that point. I can also do the same without, and then I select this bit. I can pick any option that I want, and then it changes my text. So there's so many ways to work with our text, so many ways to improve it, to change it, and to put it in the right order or in the right perspective of what we are hoping to. So if we can be able to do it that way, we will be able to work with our text. And this icon here is for text effects and typography. So there's many effects that you can actually work with. At the same time, we can also highlight our text. So let's say I select this bit of my text. I come to where it says text highlighter. I select that. It then makes my text a different color. So I would have actually made my text into that color, or I would have actually put a background to my text. I can do the same with Met. I highlight and then we are good to go. Taking off from where we left off, we just explained some of the things on our font, where we looked at the font name, the size, making our font bold, italic, underlined, strike through, post, I think this was subscript and superscript. text effects, highlighting our text, changing the color of our text. So the last few elements that we needed to work with on our text are as follows. So I can select remember, I select increase font, I click it once, it goes higher. I select t-shirt, I go to the next one, which is decrease font size. I can click it and then it goes lower. So the size of the text becomes lower. From there, we then need to get to the next bit, which is this one, which is then used to change case. So if I highlight matching, I select this one, I can put sentence case, lowercase, uppercase. So I can put it as uppercase and then it changes my text. I can also do the various options that are there. Let's say, for example, I select these options, I select, and then it says capitalize each word. So I can be able to play around with my text based on what I'm hoping to do, and this will then give me an output based on whatever I want to see my text as. So the last bit in our font is this one. It can change everything or reset everything on our text. So let's say I select on this text that we had modified previously. I click on it and it goes back to the previous text. So it actually removes the last set of formatting that we would have put on our text. So that is what we've got with working with our text. So there's still many things that you can play around with, especially with your text. And if you want, you can still play around with all these options for our text to see where some of these things would be. So in the next element that I wanted to actually work with, I just wanted to maybe put a few different styles that we can have with our text. So to make this easier, I'll just get text from this sentence. I copy it, I paste it there, and then I just cut the text into segments so that I can put various text effects so that we see just how they work. No, this was supposed to be for text styles, so we'll get two styles at a later stage. But so far we want where we are working with a paragraph. Okay, so I've got it as bullets and numbering, which is also part of the paragraph. Maybe let's rename this and we'll actually call it paragraph, like we have there. But we also want to use something that we've learned now. So I just highlight paragraph, just then go there, I put it into uppercase, and then that makes life a little bit easier. So with our paragraph now, we'll be able to work with certain things with our paragraph. So let's say I've got this so that at least it makes it easier for me to work with some text without having to retype it. Okay, so we can do the following. This is our text. I come here, I select that so that everything is reset. I think I need to reset that as well. I can reset everything individually so that maybe we just need to just take everything back to the way it was, so that at least we can then start with what we want to work with. I actually had pasted this on the wrong bit. We're still going to get to this stage, but we wanted to see what our paragraph does. So with our paragraph, we've got certain things that we would want to work with in our paragraph. We might want to work with the left side or the right side, okay? We can do it this way. So for example, if I go to paragraph and we'll start with this section here, then we'll go to the top section. By default, it's actually aligned to the left. So this is our left alignment, and this is what it looks like. The next set of alignment is center alignment. If I click on center alignment, you'd find my paragraph sort of changes the appearance. And as it's changing the appearance, my lines are starting at a different position, and it looks different. If I also select the next one, which is right justified, it also puts my text in a slightly different order. So the first order is the left alignment, which looks like that. The next order is the right alignment, which looks like, it's the center alignment, which looks like that. The next order is the right alignment, which looks like that. Then the last set of alignment is justified, which will pretty much almost look like the left alignment, but it will calculate its own starting and ending points for our paragraph. So it just now simply depends on what you are hoping to do. From there, we then want to look at the next thing that affects our paragraphs. So if I highlight my paragraph, we then go to the next element, which is line and paragraph spacing. So if I click there, I can then be able to do any of the following. So for example, if I put 1.5 as my line spacing, I'll then have my paragraph being spaced 1.5. And what do we mean by 1.5? We just mean the distance between this line and that line gives us 1.5, which is the space in between. And this 1.5 has been calculated using Word's own calculations, or rather centimeters or millimeters of how each line is actually supposed to come out. And this also helps us when we are printing, in that as we are printing, we'll then see the output that we've got. Since this will be the type of change that we are putting to our document as we proceed. So this is what then helps us work with our paragraph. So the last thing we looked at was our paragraph and line spacing. So we can always play around with this based on whatever it is that we were hoping to do. Okay. Outside of that, we've got the next bit, which is the shading. So we can shade our paragraph. So let's say I pick this paragraph that's there. I can go to shade, I pick a color, and then after picking my color, I can then highlight the entire paragraph. If you remember, the last thing we looked at here was to highlight our text. But in this particular instance, we want to actually highlight our paragraph so that our paragraph itself then has a background color. Okay. And this is what it will then look like. But we don't want this, because this is our text, to put a border around it. Okay, maybe we might just paste our paragraph there. We highlight this paragraph, we put a back color so that we see what this looks like. And then this one, we want to put a border around it. Okay, so I highlight it, I come to that particular portion, I put outside border. So in this particular instance now, I have put borders around, or rather I've put a border around my text. So this is what it will then look like. Maybe this paragraph, we can say highlight paragraph, like that. So what this then means is we have highlighted the entire paragraph, or we've put a back color to our paragraph. The next section we want to actually work with is now our lists. We want to work with our lists. Okay, I thought I had a heading or a title that told us about that, but it seems like I don't have one. So let's have our lists in Word. Okay, so the first type of list that we want is a numbered list. The next one is a bullet list. And then the next one is a mixed. Okay, so with these lists, we want to do the following. So let's say we want to have a list of specific title. Okay, so we want to add English, geography, genre, history. These can be a list of subjects. Okay, so if I highlight the entire list, I can come here to where we have our numbers and I select my numbered list. So this would then be our numbered list. Okay, from there I want to also make another list. I want to have a list of bullets or a bulleted set of points that I would want to be working with. So how do I then do that? I do it as follows. I want to have some content that I think would need to be a bullet. So I have my north, I have my south, I have my east, I have my west. So this then becomes what I would want to have in my list. So I highlight everything and then I select my bullets and then I'll have my bullets looking like that. Okay, so with my bullets, these are not the only type of bullets. Okay, we can have another set of elements which can be as follows. Let's say we want a set of bullets, right? I could say the first one would be jump, run, right? So this, I can have it and change the bullet. Okay, I can change to that. I don't know if I can change an individual bullet on the same list. It may not be possible. Oh, it is possible. So I go to the next one. I can also change that to see, can I change that one? Yes, I can. Okay. So I was actually just hoping that we can do this and change the bullets so that we see what each bullet looks like. Okay, let's see if I can just change that to another one. Perfect. So the next one would be swim, like that. so that we can see the type of bullets that we've got. Okay. We can also do the same here for our set of a numbered list. So in the order, it's not very easy to get an order that you'd want, or you can have an order that's pretty much similar to what you might want. Okay, so let's say I want to also have a set of numbered lists. Okay, they won't necessarily be numbered per se, because we can then be able to say, let's say I'll take these as they are and change them so that we see the type of list that we've got. So I can have it like this, and then I come back to my numbers. I can then have my lists as Roman numerals. I can also have my list as A, B, C, D, capitalized, A, B, C, D, which is not capital. Okay, so at the same time, I think I should be able to do the same thing that I did there, where I can actually change the individual elements to suit what is available, so that we get to see the variations that we've got. Let's see, is there any other option that we haven't used? I think all options have been used. Maybe that one, yes. So we can have our list looking like that, so that we can see what each element provides, what each element has, and we can be able to work with our numbers or any type of lists that we want. So at the same time, outside of this now, we can have a mixed list. So what do we mean by a mixed list? Let's say you are writing something or you are typing something. You want to have a variation of events. Okay, so first of all, you have your title, and your title is introduction. Okay, you put your introduction as 1.0. Okay, you can press enter. So there is one thing that you should know about introduction, or rather about this list. If I then put that particular annotation, it's as good as I'm saying I want to have a list of elements that will come in after this. So after an introduction, we might need to have a background. After a background, we want a brief summary of the project. We then also want to do the following. We also want to maybe have proposed guidelines, project timeline, like that. So in other words, we're then saying in our list, we're having all this information as it is. But where do we then get the mixed bit? Okay. About Team Victoria. Our members, our offices, our services, for example. So we are then saying under background, we've got Team Victoria. So I can click on tab and then I add a new numbering sequence. I also do the same for our members. I press tab, it then puts a new numbering system. I press tab again, it puts a new numbering system. I press tab again, puts a new numbering system. So in other words, we're then saying we're still having the same list, but we want to have it as a mixed list. So as we are doing this, we are actually then giving options to how our list should look. Okay. At the same time, I can also add more work to brief summary of the project. Inception of the project. First location. Use of rented materials. Something like that. I'm just trying to come up with a way we can be able to read or to see how this works. Okay, so in this particular instance, I want to actually add it as 1.121. I then want to press tab twice for this one so that I can add the next one. I want to press tab 3 times so that I can also add the next one. So in other words, as you can see, our list is giving us a numbering, but each of the numbering options, we then want to be able to put them in a mixed format. Okay, so this applies to this kind of numbering. Okay, so let's say we want to do exactly the same thing, but with a different kind of numbering. So I'll just highlight everything, copy it, paste it there. Here I'll just then put I can put bullets, and if I put it as bullets, it will then look like that. I can also put a mixed mode, which is this one, and then it will also look like that. Okay, so in other words, we're then saying when we've got our numbering side, we can be able to play around with our numbering to suit whatever it is that we're hoping to achieve. So this becomes one version of the variation. Let's paste again and we put a second version of our variation of numbers. Okay, let's highlight there. We put our bullets. Okay, so we've got our mixed list, the numbers that we've got, and we've got our mixed list being letters and Roman numerals plus numbers. We've got the next list having our introduction, our background as bullets. Okay, so this is what it will then eventually look like. Okay, we then now need to move to the next bit, which is the indent, left or right indent. Okay, so for this one, we need to have a paragraph so that we see how this works. So we then want to put indent a paragraph like that. So I paste my text, I highlight my paragraph, I can put decrease indent, we don't see anything because it's at the start of the paragraph. I can put increase indent, and then my paragraph moves to the left, sorry, to the right. I press it again, press it again, press it again, press it again, and each time that I do it, it's actually moving to the right. And if I decrease, I then return back to where I started. Okay, so that's how we work with our indent, whether we want to increase or decrease indent. Okay, then the last, or rather the next set that we want to work with is our sorting. Okay, So lists to sort. Okay. So with any list, we need to have a list of words that start with different letters. So our words could be as follows: zoo, cage, monkey, dog, parrot, rat, and we can have a fish. Okay, these then become our words. So what we then need to do now is we need to see how we can list um, our words, but not only list them, but list them to be able to sort them. So I can highlight my words. I select on the A to Z, and then it tells me what do I want to do. Okay, sort by, and this becomes our paragraph. Our paragraph has ascending and descending, and we can then click on OK. And then the moment we click on OK, we've actually now sorted our paragraph or our text in ascending order. Okay, so after sorting this in ascending order, as you can see, we start with cage, dog, fish, monkey, parrot, rat. So we can also do the same and say we want our text to be sorted in descending order. And if we click on OK, we'll then actually start with the last element that we had all the way until the first. So this pretty much helps if you've got content that you want to change and to sort. And it will be covered in a few elements that we'll be working with at a later stage. And this is what we then work with our paragraphs. Then we've also got the paragraph icon. If we click on it, it will then give us these elements that denote each individual paragraph. So what this simply means is this is then regarded as a paragraph. And when you see this, don't be surprised because it's just telling you that it's a paragraph. But we can also turn it off. So if we click on it and click on it again, we can turn it on and off. All it simply means it's a paragraph element that we'll be working with and we'll be using based on what we are hoping to do. Okay, so the next thing we want to get into is just our text styles. Our text styles help us to do various things. They are very difficult to work with as we can't look at all of them because there are many. Our text styles are found here where we can actually be able to see the various styles that are there. But we can then add the ones that exist here. We can pretty much have slightly more than this, but let's work on the ones that we've got here. Okay, so I can select this text. I select a heading 1. I can select that text. I select a heading 2. Title, we've already seen what it does, but let's just redo it so that we see what it does. Subtitle, we also saw what it does. We can select subtitle. We can select this section and put an emphasis. That's what it does. We select that section, we put increase emphasis. We can also select this one and put intense code like that. So these are the various styles that we can work with. But styles are very difficult for me to explain without actually having to use them in a particular sequence. Okay, so we'd need to figure out where we would want to use it and how we'd want to use it. However, we can also have a custom style. Okay, so in this particular instance, let's have custom style. Okay, what happens in our custom style? We then want to define what happens to our text. So let's say I put my word, which can be high hopes. Like that. But that's not a word, it's words. My mistake. So we highlight there and we go to where it says create a new style. Okay. So we want to name our style. And the name of the style is what we'll be able to use throughout the entire lesson or entire word process or word processing that we're working with. So we can name our style to be the following: green style, like that. So after having that, we can click on OK. And then our green style should also show up in our style. So this one is our green style. We can modify it. I think I picked the wrong one. I want this one. So we modify. Yes, so now we are actually on the right style. So what happens now when we are modifying the style? We want to modify it and give a couple of things that we think might look good for our style. So where we're learning about text, or where we're learning about our text, this is where it comes in handy. So we first start with the text name. I can say I want this text to be, for example, this one. That's the text I want. I want the size of the text to be 18. Rather, I put 20. Let's actually put it on 18 because that's the one that I want. I can then also say I want it to be bold, and I can pick a font color and say I want it to be blue. I also want it to be aligned to the center. I also want to play around with the spacing of where the next text comes up. I can also play around with the spacing, or rather the spacing that I hope to get. I click on OK, and then I've got my custom style applied to my text. So that's how we work with our styles. And we can also have custom style. Okay. So outside of all of this, I think for this particular instance, we have exhausted most of what we find in our home tab. If there are any questions, if there are any elements that you did not get, I'd want you to at least ask or go through the video, go through what we have gone through, and revisit the elements or the aspects that we have worked with from the beginning. I will end the lesson here. I will see you in the next lesson.